So a little introduction about the two. Rosalia Namsai Engchuan is a social anthropologist and filmmaker based between Berlin and Southeast Asia. Her latest work, hello Henry, her latest work, Complicated Happiness, centers on the Thai park and its intimate entanglements with colonialism, race, gender, and class. And Sarnt Utamachote was born in '92 in Bangkok, is now Berlin-based, and he's a queer Thai filmmaker, director, producer, editor, and curator who combines critical perspectives from academia with a filmic approach, with interest in collecting the alternative narratives of other people, weaving them into certain subjects, using curatorial practices in making film. He sees everything as the fragments, consequences, traces of the larger events like wars and traumas. He also curated Beyond the Kitchen, Stories of Thai Park, which we'll be talking about soon. It's still present, it's going on this year. It's an exhibition of perspectives of Thai community, diaspora, and Berlin. So us three also are connected through a collective in which Sarnt founded. It's called un.Thai.tled. And a really great collective. It's a collective of Thai creative talents ranging from musicians, DJs, painters, illustrators, designers, writers, filmmakers, photographers, and dancers, and many more inspiring people. The name itself is actually quite symbolic, in which I would like maybe Zant to elaborate further upon.
Hi. First and foremost, thanking Vicky and thank everyone for Mygration for this kind of cute talk. Basically, un.Thai.tled, we started, our first meeting was the end of 2018, where I met few of my fellows. I told them to come here, but somehow not yet, but it's okay. When they arrive, I can point them out. So we met and we were just 4 people, and we were just talking about what should we name ourselves, and then all of us agreed that we kind of getting tired of sort of being called the Thai, and that seems to be something that everybody got stuck with us. Oh, this is the Thai person or something. So we just want to deconstruct that a little bit. So we come up with un.Thai.tled, which kind of fits, and then it started. And so we did our first event in 2019 with the film festival that I started in Movimento, and then we did one exhibition plus music plus DJ whatever in near Hermannplatz in 2019. And then this year I collected more people, including Vicky and Rosalia, and then we got to this exhibition, which is basically our biggest work so far. Yeah, so thank you that we are all alive until now.
It's currently closed for the moment, right?
So basically the exhibitions are actually already open, but But basically we have flyers here, which you can go get, these blue flyers, and you should check it out. The museum is in Charlottenburg, so near U-Bahn Sophie Charlottenplatz, and it's the district museum. So it's in a way, you could feel a little bit kind of cringe when you walk in, because it's a very kind of ... space. But they offer the space to that we can curate and talk about this Thai park community, and I think we're gonna elaborate more on that too. But there's a lot of information going on in the exhibition. There's an archive part that I collected, that I try to figure out what is the beginning of migration from Thailand to Germany and ... So it's all in this exhibition. So it's gonna end in July. So if anybody wants to go there, you can write me on Instagram if you want me to accompany you and kiss you. Yeah.
Thank you for that background information about un.Thai.tled. So as many of you, and also what Daya mentioned, we are covering Thai Park, and many of you are probably wondering why no women from the Thai Park are actually here. It's a bit of a complex situation in which we will further elaborate on. And I want to also think about, when we say Thai Park, I guess immediately people think about delicious Thai street food, and because as Sant mentioned, the exhibition goes further than that. It's allowed for the collective to approach this place from a perspective of architecture, photography, performance, visual anthropology, and media design in an artistic and research-based way. And through this, they were able to understand the depths of what food can mean to an individual and a community. And what I would like to ask is, what does Thai food and Thai Park mean to you two as individuals? And why did you decide to do this exhibition? If we could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Okay. Yeah, Thai Park. I think I... No, you can't hear? You can't? Okay. Yeah, so I think when I went to the Thai Park for the first time was a couple of years ago, and I was I grew up in Germany, but I spent a lot of time in Thailand also, and it was at the first moment, a very unique and great experience, and I was really happy to just be there and get the food that I was missing. But then, even the first time I went there with my father, and my father is Thai, and I could feel that he was feeling a bit uncomfortable. And of course, then I was wondering, like, why is he not happy now to have this space? And I could just feel like this space it's about food, but it's loaded with so many histories and so many things. And throughout my studies, I've been doing work on Thai femininity. I worked a lot, or I was trying to understand the histories of representations and how when you look Thai, you are immediately looked at as if like people have ideas about you, and it doesn't really matter what your story is. And all these things became something that concerned me a lot, and I think it goes back to colonialism, and it's very complicated stories, but it's still here. We don't talk about it, and that's what I felt like when we go to the Thai Park. There's so many things that are there, but we don't talk about them, and many people also don't know about it. And I think that was for me a bit the idea to also with this exhibition maybe say that it's not only beautiful, like there's so much more to it. Yeah.
I also have a similar story. It's like I also went to Thai Park for the first time just to have some food, and I think like Rosalia already said this, that there's a danger of, in a kind of jargon word, like commodification, like so that like this Thai food that we all find it like very delicious, kind of could become sort of like a trap that stops you from understanding something deeper, because you are very stuck with what Thai food tastes like or what it should look like. And there's even complex issues in this that like, so as I don't want to like patronize or something, but like the women, the Thai women who migrated to Germany mostly come from northeast part of Thailand. So the Thai dishes that you find in Thai Park are usually dishes from the northeast part. And also like, so not to say that it's not diverse, but sort of, you know, then when you talk about Thai food, Thai Park, or some stuff that they sell at Thai Park might not represent the whole food that is sold in Thailand also, because you can find the southern dishes there, for example. And so this issue became super complicated, and I jumped into this project because basically they need someone to organize and curate. And I think like we jump in as a collective un.Thai.tled because all of us have experiences being migrants and also being Thai, and some of our artists can speak the northeastern dialect with them, which really helped because this really breaks the boundary between sort of us and them. And I think we put in the exhibition that we do not speak for them, and this is only our engagement with them, because also representations bring danger to people. So I think we respect their choice to stay anonymous, and we can elaborate more. But so going back to food, I think it's both things. It's both a source of empowerment and a source of income, but also at the same time, as we said, it could trap us into kind of superficial understanding of something too.
Can I add? Yeah, and about the income and the empowerment, something that I was also wondering, and I think that maybe sometimes it's forgotten that there's also this big questions of why do they have to go there and sell food without a license? Why do they not have, if they have been in Germany for more than 20 years, why do they not have access to the formal job market that easily? And when we talk to them, we also realize that it's just very difficult, and this is kind of something they have to do, but it's kind of part of this bigger thing where it is possible for some people to easily enter a job market, and for some people it's not. Yeah.
I think I also just you can also stop me if we talk too much. But like so from what I talked with them also, like a lot of them had a job also like previously, and it was very hard for them also to kind of like, because there are so many kind of misunderstandings and prejudices in the society that doesn't make them comfortable to stay in sort of like normal job market. But actually a lot of them also have the capability to put themselves in a normal job market too. But this one is also due to many circumstances, due to family, due to tax class that they have to be in because their husband put themselves there, and so many other things. And so like, and this goes back all the way up to the problem of this integration policy from Germany, that I think it was like the turning point also, because Thai Park is kind of like a community space, and we have to stress it again that it was started originally as community space. They did not plan at all to sell food for money. They just met there and have good talk, and food birds there to eat together. And I think it was around like 2003, 2004 that migration started coming more, and then there was this issue of integration that everybody who want to marry a German have to pass the language test and do like integration course, and so many kind of bureaucratic walls will build up to kind of, in a way, because from the German government side, they thought that will be a way to, I don't know, to filter out people who abuse this, marriage, blah, blah. But it became like a very thick wall for a lot of people to, in a bad word, integrate or to, join the normal job market situation. So that was sort of like a turning point that a lot of people could not put themselves in this, the normal job market, or to marry someone and to even have a proper visa or long-term residency in Germany. Yeah.
Thank you for that insightful. Is it okay, the volume for everybody? Yeah. Okay. So as we are hearing, it is really complex, the whole situation, the community, how it stands together. And even us as Thai people, we've also had our encounters with them and had to face our kind of westernized perspectives of them thinking that they would collaborate with us. And because this festival is about food, I want to just go back a little bit towards that and see if you had within your experience that this was a tool as a bridge to kind of connect further with them, or was it a tool that you realized there were differences? Was this something that you experienced in the collaboration of the exhibition and also your piece, Complicated Happiness?
I think when I then was, because I'm also an outsider to this community, but we were really lucky because, as you said, we have some friends who've worked with them for a long time. And I think the main tool was really patience and persistence, to go there many times and really just to hang out with them. And then, of course, as we were doing it, we were also sharing food. So, which also, as Sarnt said, this was the initial idea of this space, to have a community meeting space to share food and share stories, also where they share stories with friends from Thailand, talking about home, talking about family life. So, yeah, but I think the main tool for my research was definitely just to be very persistent and to gain trust. And I think that's also where the representation, I thought about this a lot, and I think we need to talk about these very complex structural problems, where in the end, I feel like when we talk about individuals, it always goes down to, oh, maybe this person is just unlucky or made a bad choice. But it's not like we are in systems and structures that push kind of a lot in that way. And I felt like I can also tell this story. I made a video, but I made it fictional. So I didn't put names, and I did interviews, but I wrote a fictional story, which is actually not fictional at all. It's very, very true to their stories. But I felt this also gives us the opportunity to talk about it without putting them there and saying like, look at this. So I felt this creates kind of a distance, which hopefully is also a bit more respectful to their stories. Yeah.
I mean, I also could elaborate for other artists who are not here, like two of us, two of the artists in the exhibition, they are currently in Munich or something. So basically there are like, we have like 5 artists in the exhibition. Rosalia is one of them. We have like 4 more, and all of them handle this somehow also in relation to food. So like there's also one installation, like kind of like a small table on the floor. If you go there, just call me. And so this table on the floor is all kind of the sort of architectural sketches from a friend of us. And what his idea is about to go beyond food and color. So he sketched everything in black and white and really put it in a very detailed way of like, this is not just, you can see that this is a food, but there are like something behind the food, like, the tools to crush the coconut, the ice crusher, like, so really that you can see in these sketches that food are not just that they sell the food, but there are sort of a lot of process going on and how they want to preserve the food when it's hot and, And so there's another friend of ours, Visanu, who also did the photo essay, and he went around 4 families in Germany that are kind of, interracial families, that they have sort of food as the way that they negotiate within the family. So there's one family that they have, so the Thai women has like 1 kid from Thailand, and the German husband has 1 kid in Germany. And so their kids each eat different breakfasts. And that you can see that food is something also within the family to negotiate a certain identity. And then yeah, so there's a lot of things to see in this exhibition also. Okay, PR.
So going back to the exhibition and also the art piece, and something again that we've talked about is the westernization, especially Rosalia, you and I, we grew up in predominantly white society, and unpacking all of that is quite a confronting experience for us. And what I really want to talk about, which I think is important because a lot of people are also very wary about doing art because they don't want to be problematic. And how is it that you ensure that, if it's possible, to uphold a problematic perspective, because in the end it depends on the audience and how they ingest the artwork itself, right?
Yeah, I guess it's very difficult. I would never say that my work could not be problematic. I think even for me, I think when you're at a point where you think your work is not problematic, that's already problematic, because it's kind of a closure. It's kind of a position where you think this is it. And for me, the work and the research and engaging with people is more about, it's a process where I'm also learning a lot. Like when I make a film, I don't know I know some questions that I'm interested in, but I don't know where it will go. It's not that I have a story to tell and then I'm looking for the images and then I'm telling this story. So I think it's a process where we learn, and especially in dialogue, I think that's where I try to, of course, like we are critical. We know that some kind of representations can reproduce stereotypes, but I think just in the process. I have one example. In my video, I have a performer who's dancing in a Thai dress in the empty Thai park. And I did this because when I was doing the interviews or when I talked to them, they told me that I asked about happy spaces, like what are the moments for you when you're happy? And many of them told me that they really like to dance. But then some friends told me like, you can't do that. That's the total stereotype. Like you cannot do that. But then I really thought about it, because if it does make them happy, is it then the reverse thing? Like you think, oh, this is the stereotype, so this cannot be shown, even though it's very, in this moment, very sincere and true. So there's so many dimensions to it. It's a very complicated process, kind of, yeah.
Talking about problematic, like I just kind of like, it's not the same with Rosalia issue, but like this also comes up with me when I research for the archive for the exhibition, that like I think Rosalia knows this also, that do you know that actually, for example, the dish pad Thai has a kind of colonial nationalist discourse with it, that like it was around the 70s that like there was this how you call it, general lieutenant who became like the head of the state, and he was constructing the notion of Thainess. And so during that time, there was a lot of like Chinese migrants in Thailand. And I mean, somehow we are all also partially Chinese too. And I have to say that like there was a kind of a lot of conflict between Chineseness and Thainess during that time. So this general kind of in a way PR for these new dishes that he did not invent it, but like a lot of people start making it, and he start calling it pad Thai because it's pad Thai. But originally the ingredients that were made for this dish came from the Chinese people, Chinese migrants. So there's even kind of complex issue when you look at very simple dishes. And I think like as much as things can go problematic, I think the point is that we need to just educate ourselves and trying to look into details and like, I think stereotype can be like a weapon that we, as you said, it can, in the end of the day, it makes people happy, but also it can be something that when put in a proper context, you can really deconstruct it without blaming someone. And that's so also how it, going back to me, like how I deal with, let's say, that I don't completely represent Thainess in Germany, but like now we're doing un.Thai.tled, so how we tackle this thing. And it really, because when I first came to Germany, I was really feeling like, okay, should I don't know, play Thai music or dance like Thai people or something? And and in the beginning, I was kind of really against that idea that I have to like, oh, ew, what is this? And I slowly come to embrace it and saying that like, okay, if people want to do it, then completely, and I respect them that. And I think the point that we try to make is more like, you can do whatever, but research it, and we will put it in a proper context so that you know all the information around this stereotype, and let's talk about it.
So I guess this is why we also really wanted to do the Mygration Festival, which then amplifies the narratives of self-told stories from migrants themselves and allow them to have a process, which is a movement together where we unpack a lot of these things. I think that's really also important to touch upon, and also to have a community where you can discuss and support each other. And so Rosalia, you wrote a piece called Encounters at the Surface. They look, but they don't see. Where you wonderfully analyze how the formalization of the market is a top-down scheme that will affect the organic connection that makes Thai Park a complex spatial migrant community space. And I guess what a lot of people here are thinking is like, what is happening to Thai Park? What are the plans? And I was wondering if you could further elaborate on, through your research, what is happening right now.
Yes, sure. So I think there were two main points that I understood a bit better through the research. And the first was really what Sarnt also mentioned. 20 years ago, it was really not a market. It was a meeting space. It was a community space. And there is still something of that there today, even though now it's very, very commercialized, and the food also changed, because they used to have the food that they really love, but Germans don't really like that kind of food. So now it's already not a super authentic food anymore. It's food to sell. So this was the first thing. But then, so I think it's already a mistake to look at this space as a commercial market space. And I guess that's what's happening now. I don't have the latest information, but what was also in the newspaper is that they're planning to restructure the market and formalize it, have people have like a license, they need like a business license there. they're trying to make an official market. And for me, it's like, but it was never a market. So it's kind of something that is very organic, and it, from the outside, maybe with a Western perspective, it lacks structure and organization, but it doesn't. It's just another kind of organizing. They are very organized, but and the new plan also has this idea of having a central market manager, but it's just not how it works. It's very spontaneous. Also, I mean, it's also now it's raining. It's with the weather. You can't really plan these things. It's more, right? It's just like the idea of putting an outside form onto something that is so different. And then I just don't see how that could work in the end. Yeah.
No, I completely agree, and I think like so I was also at their sort of last how you call Burger Samlung neighborhood meeting ish around before the Corona, before our exhibition opened, and they really have a new plan now that they want to construct like a proper like I don't know concrete building or something where they want to have like one space for food only and another space for like kind of event base and a lot of weird things, and like the people involved in this construction process and everything are just sort of, and I don't want to use the word Western German, but they all are, and there was like during that neighborhood meeting that they presented this plan, there were just 2 Thai people from a Thai park there, and it got me wonder like what's going wrong with this whole communication or involving process. And then I talked with these Thai women who were there, and I also have the feeling that like it's a process that we all need to do in a parallel world. Like on one side, we need to kind of try to involve them, like the Thai migrants or even other migrants in this area, to participate in this new plan. But also at the same time, we need to find a way to empower them, because I mean, it's so obvious when I talk to them that like they feel uncomfortable to come to this German space and everybody speak German and don't understand their quote-unquote broken German, and they don't really feel that they can speak much, and they really feel discouraged that what they spoke is not taken seriously.
And I think just one addition is also in the new plan and how it's being negotiated, they are sellers. And they did not make the space as sellers. They are very complex human beings with histories, and so it's kind of also the role they are given there is very, very limited, and it's not the role why they initially built the space. Yeah.
Just a last point that like from that this neighborhood meeting, because there were two Thai women who were in the room, and there were like, I don't know, I think like 50 people there, and suddenly the one who led the meeting just suddenly announced out of nowhere like, oh my God, there are Thai people here, I think they are agree and ready to adapt our new views. And I was like, cringe. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we also thought that we would like to invite them here because we wanted them to have an opportunity to sell, again, reiterating that their space is not just for economic and profit reasons. And despite our good intentions of wanting to help them, it was really difficult to have someone come in. And this is why we bought snacks from one particular woman that Rosalia has connection to. And she herself also didn't feel comfortable being here for many reasons. It could be bureaucratic, but also other background reasons. And I just want to also touch upon the she was up all night, you said, Rosalia, making these. So we have like a lot of really beautiful Thai snacks that she made by hand, and she's selling them for €4. And again, we just look at like the price of things and how much do we want to put value. But then it's like, okay, are we just thinking that's too cheap? But for them, they're doing it because they love doing it. It allows them to connect with this. It's really, really complex. But Rosalia, you had dinner with them last night. Was there any conversation around this?
Oh, no, we're going to have dinner.
Oh, you're going to have a conversation? Okay.
I can tell you in the future.
Okay, so the last question before I open up the dialogue for any questions from the audience is, would you like to share any stories about what Thai food, specifically Thai food, means to you?
Yeah, of course. Like I I spend a lot of time. I try to spend a lot of time in Thailand, and I think especially when I find Thai food that's not easily found in Germany, I'm super happy. And like sometimes when we cook together with Duan, and I think like sharing the food together in the community is something that makes me really. Also, when I go to the Thai temple here in Berlin, where the Thai food is amazing, I think it's because it's like sharing the food is this community thing, and it gives me something, because I was growing up in Germany and I felt always like there's this void maybe, and through food just can be filled somehow. Yeah.
I think it's also like I discover also that like there's a whole kind of, I mean, if I think like a lot some people who have researched about Dongchuan Center also know this kind of the migrant complex organization that they're trying to deal with. So basically there's like whole kind of business or some sort of movement that they try to bring ingredients from Thailand or other parts of Asia to Germany, not by like eBay and click, but like literally put in a big luggage into the plane and like brought it here, and they have like deal kind of secretly between themselves. And this whole kind of thing get me also thinking that like I really don't want to take it for granted, and like, you know, making food is such a complex thing that you have to put your heart and soul into it, but also have to find the right ingredients and find the right way to find these ingredients, which can be can be received or done through community process. You cannot do it alone. So that's kind of how I feel.
So I'd like to open the discussion up to the audience. Are there any questions that you would like to ask? The question was, is Thai Park mainly made of first generation migrants? And if there's a second generation that allows for a bridge to be built through the languages, because a lot of them were socialized here, and to know the systems, the bureaucratic systems that are in place, if that is something present. Is that you? Yeah.
Maybe you know more about this. The situation of first generation and second generation migrants is quite different, and I think, as I was told, that many of the second generation migrants, they don't have an interest to be in the Thai Park too much. Maybe they would support, but it's not there. It's easier for them to become part of the official system. Yeah.
No, I mean, Rosalia, you're right. Like, there are also like few people who kind of, they are like the second generation. Basically, they are like kind of, let's say 1 or 2 or 3 families who try to kind of take care of the infrastructure that they have. And especially there's this young second generation boy who tried to take care of the trash management and thing. And he really feel uncomfortable to continue it in a way, and without understanding, because it became sort of like a burden for him, because he want to have his own free life and choose things by himself. But it's just somehow that this sort of the task that fell on him. So I think you are right that like it's every community's first and second generation have different needs in their life, and I think I also understand it also that like, I mean, I speak for me that as a migrant coming from Thailand, that I also, I want to choose the path for my life by myself. So we cannot just say that like, oh, because you are from Thai community, you will take everything from the Thai community or something. We are all just a human, yeah. I just a short shout out. We have one artist here. Visanu, can you, Nisha, you come here? Two of you, come here. Nisha, come here. So these are also other 2 members of the cute un.Thai.tled. Introduce yourself.
Please.
Oh yeah. Hi. Hi, I'm Q from Thailand. One of the members from un.Thai.tled.
Hi, I'm Nisha. I'm also part of the un.Thai.tled. Also, I'm from Thailand as well.
And Q also have your photo essay that I just told you before earlier about the picture and the families. So yeah, have a look at his work in the exhibition. So question. Is there any questions more or like anything?
Were there any questions that you would like to add now that we have also more members of the un.Thai.tled collective here? Maybe about the exhibition? Yes, Jenny.
So I was wondering if we just let things go, how it goes, will something really essential get lost forever and won't be able to be created again?
Just a short actually it's a part of this exhibition also that we plan for safe space meeting that we want to spread the flyer so what we plan is that we thought the corona would not happen and the Thai Park would happen and we would go to Thai Park and spread a flyer and say that we have our personal meeting, there will be no Germans there, just us, and we want you to talk about what you feel and we will sort of collect your how you call comments and thoughts and things, and we will really represent it to the district because it's a district museum, so they have a direct connection with who and the Upthai Lung Bao or something that they can communicate with each other. But it's I am not gonna kind of blah about museum for now, but okay, there's a corona and there's a kind of, in a very short way, not to rant about it, I think the way that the institution thinks is that they tend to think in a separated thing. So their museum belongs to the culture sector and they don't want to put themselves in a political situation because according to them, they say we belong to the cultural sector. We are not in the district or urban planning sector. So they tend to dislike this idea. And this also is a big problem when we deal with institutions that they really don't want to risk themselves into this process.
Yeah, I guess that was also the interesting learning experience of talking about this topic in a space that is part of the administration, but then it's another responsibility. And that's how institutions work. It's this is an art space, so we can tell some stories, but not these stories because this is the responsibility of this other space, but it's not how reality is. So that's I think why we are also, as you said, trying to have this safe space in other spaces. Yeah.
And I guess I'm not sure if it's possible to actually not intervene, and I'm not sure if intervening is the right word, but rather having contact with the people that exist within themselves and rather how they exist, how we want to see them within the market. But I think that because you do a lot of things not only at the markets, for example, with Snow, you did these films, you interviewed them, you asked them to tell their stories in their own words. Maybe you want to elaborate on how food came into play with that and how you feel your, I guess, connection and collaboration was able to flourish through, of course, your culture, the language, but specifically more so with food.
Well, my project it's actually started from my love of eating, especially Thai food. Then I get to know a lot of Thai aunties here, and then I saw them cook, saw them use kind of ingredient that they can found here, and then because Thai food it's require a lot of ingredients and also it's very complex to cook, and then at the end of the day they managed to do that. So at first my intention was I want to do photo documentation, capture all the process how they can cook Thai food here in Germany. But then after my interview, my field trip, and I saw something beyond that. I saw that they use that space for something else as well. They use that space for how could I say, that adaptation for for adaptation to German society and cultural here as well. So yeah, I decided to show my photos and also that interview alongside it, like at the exhibition.
Again, if you want to see the exhibition, you can get in touch with un.Thai.tled or Sarnt personally, and you can find out more about how to look at the exhibition, experience it. Also, posters.
I have poster too if you want, and if you don't, it's also fine. And like as again, like get contact with us, and I can lead you around the exhibition. And like if you are interested in further collaboration with us, and also like this exhibition will not stop at the museum. We really want to show it again because like so there will be some events coming in the future, and also we plan for Thai Film Festival in Bibak. So coming the end of this year, hopefully none of us will die because of Corona, and everything will be fine. And yes, what else?
Yeah, are there actually any further questions before we close up? Okay, so as mentioned before, but I also want to reiterate it, we have some Thai snacks here. If you want to support the Thai community, please grab some, take some for home, share them with your loved ones, because this is really what Thai food is about also. It's about, so there's a mix, and yeah, it's really, really yummy. Gluten-free, vegan.
I also like I forgot to say that like if you want to have a list of restaurants that are owned by Thai Park communities, you can also contact us. Like I know the list, so like because now they cannot sell food, but you can support them at their restaurants. So. No.
So before we move on and have a little break, afterwards Sarnt will be on stage again with Fink. Just owning the stage and playing some really nice music for us. And yeah, we'd just like to extend a huge thank you for all of you for being a part of this talk, for coming, and for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. Thank you. And yeah, I'd like to give you a bag. Oh, no. Just take one, take one. Thank you. Yeah, please come through. Panda Noodles has their menu on as usual. We have a nice mini market, some Mygration merch, which will support the team. Yeah, thank you all for coming and being in the rain. We're sorry. Shit.
Okay, so I want to elaborate. I think you noticed this nice t-shirt, and we have nice bags. So you can buy them even though you couldn't order them before. You can happily buy them inside. And we have the Thai snacks. Panda noodle food is great. And also we are selling some books from International Women's Space, which is about the narratives of refugee women. So please come in, and don't forget your hand sanitizer. Thank you.